What's up, Hiroshi? Let's light this candle. You guys know what time it is. It is Monday. I feel like these podcasts are getting to be a little off schedule. We gotta get back into that. We gotta get that fixed. Coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Halloween is next week, next Wednesday. How are you guys doing? Welcome to the show. This is Tuned In Live, your weekly podcast right here on Arrow with a Name on twitch.tv/Arrow with a Name. If you guys have yet to do so, or if you're new to the broadcast, be sure to follow us over on Twitter at ArrowOfficial17 for the latest updates on what we're going to be streaming and when we're going to be streaming next. Also, you can find us on YouTube under Arrow Entertainment. That is our channel where all of our podcasts and gaming streams are uploaded to every time we go live. Also, I want to go ahead and say that we are proudly sponsoring a new streaming service, which is now in a pre-release, post-release, whatever you want to call it. It's in beta form, Caffeine.tv. If you are a PC streamer and you are looking to stream without the hassle of a long-term setup, without the hassle of any kind of hard setup, sign up for Caffeine.tv today. Download the software, easy to set up, get to streaming right away if you are a PC streamer or a console streamer. Also, I want to go ahead and give a couple quick shout-outs to a couple new followers this past week. H1 V-Claps, I guess that's how I'm pronouncing your name, and Twisty Shape. Thank you for the follow, guys, this past week. Haven't been much into streaming this past week, if you guys had noticed. Usually I go live on Wednesdays and Thursdays, but I've had an awful lot going on in my life, personal life, it's nothing too bad. It's just I was tied up, I was busy the last few days. Actually, the last time I was streaming, I believe, was last Monday. It was last Monday. It was last Tuesday. I was supposed to go live last Tuesday with Resident Evil, and I've checked the votes to see who all wanted what. You guys wanted the first Resident Evil. I'm still going to get that for you out there pretty soon. It's just, I've had a lot of issues going on, and plus I've been needing some sleep because I work at night. So, it's been a pretty bad week. Plus my sinuses are starting to act up. It's starting to become flu season, cold season, whatever you want to call it. Oh gosh, so if during the podcast you hear me blow my nose or something like that, then you know, Wolf man, what is going on, buddy? I'm just saying, it's been a good while since I've been in here, doing this thing, and hopefully hopefully I'm a little bit better later on. Actually, later on today, guys, I am having another stream. This will be a two for today. Later on stream, it is going to be a Resident Evil entry. It may not be the original Resident Evil. It might be Resident Evil Revelations. Shadow is streaming. I gotta go over and check that out. I know he's streaming that game, though. I forgot what the hell it was called. Yeah, he was supposed to be getting that taken care of, too. He was streaming this morning, actually, too. So anyway, guys, yesterday, I looked on one of my movie streaming sites that's up out there. There's quite a few out there. And, Breakdown, that's what it was called. Thanks, Wolf. Yeah, that's right. Part 3. Yeah, I think he's going to try to get through that whole game and beat that while he's doing it. So, yeah, later on today, I'm going to be streaming Resident Evil Revelations. More likely I'll be streaming it on Facebook, so you guys will see it re-uploaded on YouTube. You might see it re-uploaded on here. That is if Twitch allows me to do it. Last time I tried to re-upload a stream and it didn't go well. So I don't know. So anyway, I want to go ahead and get into this. The name of the podcast is Halloween 78 versus Halloween 18. 40 years of Michael Myers. 40 years. Let that sink in. For those of you listening, and I know there ain't too much listening right now, we are all younger. We all are all younger than the whole franchise of Halloween. I was born in 85. Wolf was born in 85. Shadow, if he was over here listening, he was born, 86, 87. 40 years that the movie Halloween has been out. That's amazing. That one of our favorite franchises, one of our favorite movies growing up, is 40 years old this year. Actually, this month too. And I've seen so much when it comes to a documentary. I've seen so much when it comes to the behind the scenes with the movie. And original title for Halloween was going to be The Babysitter Killer. Or The Babysitter Murders. I'm sorry. It was going to be called The Babysitter Murders. I guess that was a little too extreme. I don't know. I mean, they've had some weird titles back in the 70s and the 80s for horror movies. And who was it? Mustafa Akkad, I think, who approached John Carpenter because they wanted a fresh and young director, and they looked at John Carpenter, and John Carpenter said, "Well, here's what I want to do." I mean, of course, he was very particular with certain things, and he was like, "Well, we make the movie, and it takes place on Halloween night, so why don't we have the movie take place on Halloween night, and we'll release the movie on Halloween night, and we'll just call the movie Halloween." So Halloween in threes, basically. So, he wanted to make the movie. He said, okay, well, let's just, because they originally were going to call it The Babysitter Murders. He's like, well, let's just, the movie takes place on Halloween night. Why don't we just call the movie Halloween? And we'll release it on Halloween in theaters. And, of course, the movie didn't go quite as well the first couple weeks or so. It wasn't bringing in as much money and all. But then when people really started going seeing it, and then word of mouth, people were going constantly to see this movie, and it was phenomenal, especially for an independent film. This was an indie film, an indie horror that did really well when it came out, and it became a cult phenomenon. The movie itself, when you watch Halloween 78. This is a movie that's an hour and a half long. No matter how you look at it, it's a strict hour and a half long. You get an amazing backstory to it. You learn about you don't learn too much about the killer. You know his name. In the beginning of the movie, if you have yet to see Halloween 78, first of all, what's wrong with you? And second, go back and rewatch the movie. Actually, we were supposed to be doing a live stream last night. We were supposed to stream the movie Halloween, and had some technical issues on my end. A couple little ones on Shadow's end. All that's taken care of now. We actually postponed it till this Wednesday night, so we will be watching Halloween 78 this Wednesday night right here on Twitch. You've seen it like 4 times. I've seen it way more than 4 times, man. I can't even count how many times I've seen Halloween. It's one of my favorite horror movies. And I pretty much know it bit by bit. You're going to see it again when you stream it. Yes, man, it's good. It's going to be fun. It's going to be done in the theme of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Like I said, we were supposed to stream it last night, and I was pretty disappointed, because I was having some technical issues with it. I couldn't get it going. My Elgato wasn't going to allow me to stream it or anything. So I finally got a copy of it that's actually going to let me stream it, and we're going to get to that. Give me a second, guys. I'll be right back. My sinuses are killing me. I'm having a runny nose right now, and I don't want you all to hear it. I hate it when this happens whenever I go live. So yeah, we were going to stream it. Didn't happen, but we're going to stream it this Wednesday night. So yeah, the movie is basically, this guy murdered his sister when he was young, 1963, and then of course, 78, 15 years later, his psychiatrist is coming to transport him to a maximum Well, he's going to transport him to a courthouse, where they're going to try him as an adult, blah blah blah, transfer him to a maximum security prison, but ends up, escaping that night, attacking the doctor's transport, basically scaring her out of the car, stealing the car, and then he takes off for Haddonfield, and nobody knows why, he just takes off for Haddonfield, he kills some random guy, steals his jumpsuit, breaks into a hardware store, steals a mask, couple knives, rope, whatever. I remember some of this like word for word, pretty much. And then he just goes on his killing spree. His main targets are 3 teenage girls. They had just got out from school. They're making plans. One of them's a horny ass bitch. She's planning on fucking the whole night. And the other 2 are babysitting. And of course, one played by Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode. She's the goody good of the whole group. They made a Friday the 13th game. They need to make Actually, there is a Halloween game out there. There is a Halloween game out there. It is on Atari 2600. I've played it. It's not that great. There is a Halloween game though. I know. Friday the 13th. They made a couple of games on Friday the 13th. They made the NES Classic, which was done by LJN Games, and then of course there's the one that everybody's playing nowadays on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Yeah, there is a Halloween game out there. I do have it, and I have played it. It's not that great. But yeah, there is a DLC for Dead by Daylight where you can play as Michael Myers. There was also some DLC Call of Duty Ghosts. Call of Duty Ghosts. I'm surprised you haven't remembered that, man. Call of Duty Ghosts, where it was a particular map, and at random, I think there was like a care package or something that dropped in. I forgot how it was, and one of the players can be Michael Myers for a set number of time, and of course you go around while you're killing each other, and it took a long time to fucking Fog. That's what it was. Yeah. That was a good map, though. Now I actually want to play Ghost just for that. But yeah, there was a Halloween game. I forgot what year it was released. It came out on the Atari 2600. Basically, you play as the babysitter, and you're going room to room to room, collecting kids and setting them free, saving them from the boogeyman. And then, of course, you see him coming in the screen, he's like dabbing the fucking knife to the Halloween theme. So it's like the whole game is quiet until you hit a certain room where Myers is in, and then it'll play a pixelated version of Halloween. They need to remake the Halloween game. I know, man. They would have to do that right, though. Like with Jason, with Friday the 13th, that game was just perfect. You're either playing as the camp counselor, or you're playing as Jason going around slaughtering. So Halloween, they would probably have to look deep into making a Halloween game and trying to get that to work out. So, but yeah, other than that, Halloween 78 with the atmosphere, how creepy it is. Like, you don't really see the killer do much until like the climax in the end, which is probably like the last half hour of the movie. But for the whole movie, you're following these characters, the babysitters. You're following Dr. Loomis, played by the late Donald Pleasance, who did a spectacular performance in the movie. As he's going around giving his speech to the sheriff, as they're trying to track down, the serial killer. I can't even get the word out right. The serial killer. And then, of course, you got a camera perspective for Michael Myers as he's following these teenagers around, stalking them outside before actually moving in for the kill. Now, it was also said that when this movie was finished, and John Carpenter has taken it to a screen testing, I guess that's what they call it, screen testings, or screenings, personal screenings for the critics, or whoever it was, and they said it wasn't scary. It didn't feel scary because it didn't have any music to it. So they told John Carpenter this. John Carpenter took the movie back, and he did his score for the movie. He wrote his own music, he did the score, and when he overlaid the score over the film, you know, especially in certain areas where it was needed for the right moments, and it fit perfectly with the music, with the score. It made the movie even more scarier, even more terrifying. And people loved it. People loved it. It had the right amount of atmosphere. The music timing on there was perfect. It stretched it out, you know, to where, okay, you get a little, you know, you see these characters. It's like, which character do you like? You like Laurie Strode, you know, when she's babysitting? Do you like Annie? Do you like Linda? You know, the horny Linda who brings her boyfriend over to the house and, you know, ends up fucking. And of course, there's like some, I don't want to say there's like some hilarious kills, but nowadays you just sit there and laugh at it. But it's pretty intense. The suspense in the movie was superb. Then, of course, you get to the end, the climax, you know, the confrontation between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers was very suspenseful. And it lasted for a good amount of time, you know. Very, very suspenseful. You know, every time he went down, he kept getting back up. Then, of course, the end, you know, Loomis, he walks in, shoots him 6 times out the window. You know, where you think he's dead, he's laying there on the ground, and Loomis walks over to the window, and Myers is gone. He disappeared. And that was an amazing end right there, where you're like, yeah, maybe he is truly evil, you know? He got up, walked away, he could be anywhere, and the movie ended on this climax. It's like, okay, we need a sequel, you know? And John Carpenter didn't even have it in mind to make a sequel to Halloween, but people were wanting it. You know, people were like, "What's happened next? What happened next?" And of course, you know the timeline. He ends up making a sequel, Halloween 2, gave it another twist. This time, it was directed by Rick Rosenthal, and Halloween 2 gave it the twist that, oh, Michael Myers is Laurie Strode's sister. So they went with that, and of course, they close it off. They finish it off. And then Halloween 3 came out. Halloween 3 was supposed to turn the franchise into a anthology series, which people were not too happy with. I would have loved to see that, actually. And Halloween 3, I enjoy that movie. It may not be everybody's favorite. It may not be the greatest of the series. But I enjoyed Halloween 3 because it was different. There was a different mood to it. And it just gave it a new life, basically. And people weren't happy about that. They wanted Michael Myers. They were like, oh, you brought him back for a sequel. Then you turn around and give us this. Well, this time, John Carpenter, he was done with the series. And then they brought somebody else in to write, produce, and direct Halloween 4. Yeah, of course, Halloween 4 did pretty well. There's still some odds and ends for me on that film, but it is pretty entertaining. Halloween 5 was rushed out the very next year to continue this new storyline, and then that kind of flopped. It was bad. They waited 5 or 6 more years. Halloween 6 comes out. Halloween 6, A Curse of Michael Myers. I enjoy it, and I will still watch it to this day and beyond. But Halloween 6, I can agree, it was a convoluted mess. They had 2 versions of it. They had a producer's cut, which gave a little bit more detailed story into Michael's madness with The Curse of Thorn, which, you know, everybody called 4, 5, and 6 the Thorn trilogy. It was a supernatural power that, you know, Michael had placed on him, you know, that why he was chasing after his family, why he had to kill his family, you know, kill his sisters, kill his niece, anybody who has his bloodline, you know. It was a convoluted mess. So, critics, they screened it, didn't like it, so they took it back, did a lot of editing, added a lot of new scenes, and they had to add a lot of new scenes. They couldn't do a whole lot of refilming, because at the time, Donald Pleasence was ill, and he passed away during the filming of Halloween 6. So, whatever scenes that he was in, they kept a lot of scenes, and there was quite a bit of plot holing there going on. And Loomis's character bouncing all around in random places in the movie didn't it didn't have that feel, that Dr. Loomis should have had in the movie. It felt like his presence was, where it was supposed to be known at times, but it wasn't, and then it would pop up at random times when it wasn't necessary. Halloween 6 was a mess. When the theatrical version came out, that did a little bit more better, but not as much to save the franchise. Then Halloween 7, H2O, comes out in 98. 20 years later, they pretty much, I guess a pretty much redo, basically. So 3 through 6 didn't happen, so this is another alternate timeline. So when you look at the Halloween movies, there are 3 timelines going on. You got every movie in the series, like let's say 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever. Let's say they all happen in that universe or whatever. I forgot how it goes. And then the timeline, the second timeline that comes in for H2O is 1, 2, H2O, and then Resurrection. H2O takes place 20 years after the events of Halloween 2. Now, mind you, Laurie did survive, but we're still trying to wonder how and why Michael Myers survived the fire at the hospital, where he was blown up, charred to death. Not only that, if you remember, if this movie had any kind of continuity to it, Michael Myers had both his eyes shot out by Laurie Strode in the hospital. So he would be blind right now. He wouldn't have any eyes. So that was one continuity error that they had in Halloween 4 and in Halloween H2O. So his eyes would have been shot out. And that was the biggest continuity error right there, if you notice. But H2O brought him back, chasing down Laurie Strode for one last fight, and the ending was perfect for the movie. I'm not going to go too much into the movie. It has its flaws. Don't get me wrong, it does have its flaws, but the movie had a satisfying closing. It had a satisfying closing to it. So, yeah, the music was great. I think I read that already. So H2O ended on where Laurie killed the monster. The end. Well, people can't get enough of Michael Myers now, can they? Resurrection comes out. Turns out the person she killed was a paramedic who was on the scene, and Michael killed by crushing his larynx. Well, he didn't really kill him. He just knocked him out. He crushed his larynx, switched costumes, and of course, Laurie murdered the guy, so she ended up in an asylum or a hospital. And then Michael comes, kills her, and then he returns home, He goes home, there's this camera crew of people in there, doing some kind of web show on the infamously serial killer Michael Myers, and they all killed off one by one. And of course, you got Tyra Banks, and you got Busta Rhymes in it. And to me, that's what killed the movie right there. You had characters that were very bland, very boring, very dumb. And of course, you got Busta Rhymes and Tyra Banks. I mean, you put those two in a Halloween film, and that just kills it right there. That just absolutely killed it for me. I mean, the movie, yes, it is entertaining to watch. Well, do I watch today? Yeah, I haven't seen it as much as I've seen the original Halloween, but Resurrection to me was garbage. Yeah, I'll still watch it. But that one was pure garbage to me. And that's what killed the franchise right there. That one came out in somewhere in the early 2000s. So that one killed off everything. Then you got Rob Zombie's Halloween remake. Now, I'm going to go on record, and I think I said this before in past podcasts. I love Rob Zombie's style. I love his music. I love his movies. He has that particular vision for shock, what do they call it, shock rock when it comes to his music. Shock rock, shock horror, whatever, the Alice Cooper style. But when it comes to his movies, he's got that Grindhouse 1970 feel when it comes to his vision of horror. And it's very, very peculiar. And that's what I like about Rob Zombie. When he did Halloween, this one came out in 2007 or 2009, somewhere around there. When this movie came out, and I saw it, this was not only like it wasn't even really a reboot, it was a retelling. Basically a retelling of John Carpenter's masterpiece in Rob Zombie's vision. And I think he did a decent job with it, you know. He gave a whole backstory to Myers when he was younger, you know, gave it to where, okay, Myers grew up in a somewhat abusive household. You know, he had a stepfather who was kind of abusive with him, and, you know, his sister, and I think that's how it went, you know, but he was pretty abusive toward Michael. He had a mother who was a stripper, but his mom was always there for him. You know, his siblings were picking on him. People were picking on him at school. You know, he'd end up, you know, getting bullied to the point where he ended up killing a kid within the first 10 minutes of the film. Killing a kid who was bullying him in the school bathroom. And he brutalized this kid with a tree branch. That shows you right there. It's like, okay, this movie is set up to where there's going to be a lot of brutal kills. Then, of course, you know, it follows a timeline where, you know, his mom's away at work, but his stepdad's at home sleeping, so he kills his stepdad. He kills the boyfriend, which, you know, in the original, the boyfriend walks out and goes home just moments before, you know, he kills his sister. But in this one, he kills the boyfriend in the kitchen, goes upstairs, puts the mask on, kills his sister brutally, and then he goes to walk outside, and he waits outside. He don't leave. He waits outside for his mom to come home, and he's holding his baby sister Laurie, and then mom comes home, and she finds the dead bodies, and of course they take him away in a police car. He's locked up in a mental hospital, you know, because you can't jail or try a kid when he's real young. You got to wait till they're like 18, and then you could try him as an adult. So he took this vision from his childhood all the way up, you know, the years in the hospital, and then it comes up to, you know, 1978, where he escapes the hospital, and it feels like, you know, the original Halloween movie. So the movie itself was like, I want to say 2 hours, or almost 2 hours, but Rob Zombie put enough time into this movie to give some backstory, and then, of course, focus on, you know, how the original film went, you know, with the original characters, you know, the kills, everything. I mean, of course, Michael was bulky. he was a bulky motherfucker, I tell you. You know, he was so he looked like he was on fucking steroids. That's how big he was. And he was very, very brutal, too. And then, of course, in case you don't know, if you haven't seen Halloween, Rob Zombie's version, Danielle Harris plays, I believe it's Annie. Yeah, she plays Annie in that movie. If you don't know who Danielle Harris is, she played the young girl Jamie Lloyd in Halloween 4 and 5. Girl's all grown up. And of course, you do see her naked in it too. Don't worry, she's of age when you see that movie, you know. But that is kind of ironic, you know. Like, she started out in her breakout career was Halloween 4, and she returned for 5. And she's a new scream queen, basically. And then Rob Zombie had her in the film, which is an amazing feat, you know. And then, of course, you got Sid Haig, who played Captain Spaulding in House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. He plays the caretaker of the cemetery in the movie. And then you got William Forsythe, who was in The Devil's Rejects. He plays the stepfather in the movie, and of course he gets his throat slit. And then you got Brad Dourif, who voiced Chucky, the killer doll in Child's Play. He plays Sheriff Brackett in the movie. So you got a pretty good cast of actors in that movie, including Michael McDowell, who plays Dr. Loomis. He does an alright job, you know. He ain't no Donald Pleasance, but he did an alright. Movie closed, where Michael ended up getting shot anyway. I've seen this movie. I've seen two endings to this movie. I've seen one ending where the police gun him down after Loomis, yells to them to stop. You know, he didn't want them to shoot him, but they end up shooting him. And then there's one ending, which everybody sees nowadays on TV, where Laurie shoots him. And then, of course, Michael ends up, you know, it looks like he ended up killing Loomis in the last act, but he didn't really kill him. So I've seen two different endings to this movie, both of them with him getting shot. And then, of course, Rob Zombie had to do a sequel to his version. And his version, I've seen it a couple times, and I think that's got to be the absolute worst entry to the whole franchise, is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. If you think The Curse of Michael Myers was a convoluted mess, this one is like an acid trip on a downhill spiral. You got Halloween 4 on YouTube? Yeah, like some of those movies are on YouTube. People have been uploading them over the years, especially if they don't look like they're, you know, in their proper aspect ratio and stuff. But yeah, Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's version, I can't remember. The only thing I remember is, like, Loomis wrote a book about the, everything about Michael Myers, wrote about Laurie Strode being the sister and all. And of course, Laurie didn't even know, you know, that she was the sister, you know, and until she read the book. Yeah, part 1, you're not going to be able to find on YouTube. I've tried. I've actually tried. There is a version of it on YouTube, but the whole thing is in Spanish. The whole thing is in Spanish. Plus, there's another version where, like, I want to say a quarter of the movie is cut out around the corner, so you're not going to be able to find a proper version on YouTube, sadly. I can give you a website to look it up, but there's going to be, like, ads that'll pop up every now and then when you're trying to watch a movie. All you got to do is close the ads out. So, you know, Halloween 2, it was a mess. It was an absolute mess, you know. The ending of it, you know, he ends up getting gunned down. You see Michael's face the entire time. You know, he barely has a mask on, and the mask is all torn up. And then he actually talks. Michael Myers talks toward the end of the movie. And the only thing he fucking says is, die. He tells Loomis to die. I'm like, you know, how many times have we all, you know, been waiting and wondering, what the hell could he say? What the hell could Myers possibly say, you know, anytime? Especially when you're talking to him. Yeah, look, his only word is die. Of course he's going to say die, because he's going to fucking kill you when he says die. So then there wasn't a proper Halloween film since then. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 came out in 2011. And I guess there's been talks of other, you know, studios and directors wanting to do a Halloween movie, and they just couldn't get it off the ground. So then comes, you know, I forgot how this one came out, but everybody was happy to learn that John Carpenter returned as executive producer on this film, and they brought back Jamie Lee Curtis for, I guess, a last-time role. This movie is directed by David Gordon Green, and a lot of people see him as a director of, you know, comedy films. So if I look up a list of comedy films that he has done, let's say he's done stuff like The Pineapple Express, All the Real Girls, The Sitter, some movie named Joe, Stronger. So he's done a lot of comedic films that he has directed, written, and produced. And this is what the guy's known for. So people are like, okay, how can a film director that's done a comedy. You know, how can he switch from comedy to horror? And I do gotta say he did a decent job with directing, which is now what I'm going to get into. You know, I've already talked about Halloween 78 at the beginning. I'm getting ready to compare that to this one 40 years later. Now, spoiler alert, guys. If you have yet to see this movie and you don't want any spoilers, if you don't want to learn, if you don't want to hear anything about the movie at all, shut the stream off now. Come back later and you know, just hear me out. Otherwise, if you don't care too much, if you're still going to see it regardless of spoilers, hang around, because I'm going to get into some serious stuff. Hey, Cypher's here. Maybe he's bipolar. Yeah, that could be true. Maybe Michael Myers is bipolar. You know, sometimes he'll show sympathy for like a baby, you know, sitting in a nursery, and then he'll just like turn around and look at somebody and go, die! Just like brutally knife them. So yeah, if you guys have yet to see Halloween 2018, like I said, if you don't want to hear any spoilers, if you don't want to hear anything about the movie, shut the stream off, go see the movie, come back, then you can hear what I have to say. Because there's already a ton of reviews out on YouTube, and I've been avoiding them until I saw the movie, and then last night I saw a couple videos, you know, where they're talking about their perspective on what they thought about the movie. That way, you know, maybe somebody's got the same aspect that I do that they don't. So, when I watched Halloween last night, the newest one, and I gotta say, after I finished the movie, it left me with a sour aftertaste, as I posted on Twitter. It's a very sour aftertaste. I went into this movie with high expectations. Because, you know, when you see it on TV and you hear about it on social media where they're like, okay, the critics love the movie. Rotten Tomatoes gave it like a 90-some%. You know, they said people were loving it. This is the best horror movie of the year. The best Halloween sequel since ever. Now, getting into this movie, this is where the timeline gets very weird, because I mentioned before, there's 3 different timelines to the Halloween franchise, and this makes the 3rd Halloween timeline. This movie takes place 40 years after the events of Halloween 1. So, Halloween 2, all the way on up, does not exist in this universe, in this timeline. So, you don't have the storyline of the hospital. You don't have the storyline of Laurie being the brother of Michael Myers. You know, you don't have the continuity errors of him frying in a hospital, having his eyes shot out, anything of that nature. So that's all gone. So they did a completely different storyline. I almost want to say they wanted to try to do a reboot of the series, but that wasn't going to happen, especially when you got Jamie Lee Curtis returning to her titular role as Laurie Strode. And of course you got John Carpenter returning as executive producer, and I think he also wrote the script, or he helped write the script or something like that. Let me see. Produced by Jason Blum, Bill Block, and of course, you know, it's executive produced by John Carpenter, and it was written by Jeff Fraley. Danny McBride wrote the script, and David Gordon Green. Danny McBride. All right, let me see what he looks awfully familiar. Danny McBride. Where did I see him at? Okay, he was in Hot Rod, Superbad, The Pineapple Express, Drillbit Taylor, Tropic Thunder, Fanboys, Observe and Report, Land of the Lost, Despicable Me, Due Date, Kung Fu Panda 2, Your Highness, 30 Minutes or Less. All these, yeah, there's a lot of comedy movies. Yeah, when they talk about, okay, Danny McBride, of course he was also in Alien Covenant. when they talk about Danny McBride, or like, because I heard that name before, you know, when they were talking about this movie. So like Danny McBride, they're like, oh yeah, he was in the comedy movie, so he's writing the script for this. That's I don't know how I feel about that. So yeah, anyway, I went into this film and I was expecting great things about it. I was having high expectations with this film, you know. It's a whole new time, you know, it's continuing the timeline from the very first movie, you know, because at the end of Halloween 78, you're left with Myers still wandering about. You don't know where the hell he's at. And that's that. I mean, all that picks up in Halloween 2, but reminder, there is no Halloween 2 in this timeline. This is basically 40 years after the events of Loomis shooting him out the window and he disappears. But they do kind of explain it, how they caught up with him, you know, and then he really locked him back up in the hospital and stuff like that. Now, my personal feelings about this movie, I wanted to love this movie. I really wanted to love this movie. I wanted this movie to be the other Halloween movie that I could watch every year on Halloween or around the Halloween season. I wanted this to be that movie where I could pop in and enjoy it. But leaving a very sour aftertaste in my mouth. But to just to say, you know, it's like, figuratively speaking, this movie had some great moments. It did have some great moments, and it didn't disappoint. Jamie Lee Curtis does steal the show toward the end, the last 20 minutes of the movie. She definitely steals the show. Other than that, you're left with a lot of disposable characters, and even some that do happen to survive. Don't get me wrong, some of them do survive, but there are some characters in the film that are pretty much throwaway characters, or they don't have a reason to be there. And then there's just some characters that leave you with some plot holes. And this movie has quite a few plot holes within it. Now, if you take a look at other Halloween films, like, okay, Halloween 1 and 2, everything is tied together in those two films. They happen on the same night. You know, you learn a lot about what's going on, why Michael is targeting Laurie in Halloween 2. The Halloween Thorn trilogy, as I'll call it, 4, 5, and 6, they had their continuity in a way. They had maybe a couple plot holes halfway through, but was explained later on. So, going back to the Thorn trilogy, I will say, not the best of the series, but they did a decent job with filling in those plot holes, finishing off the story, giving an explanation, making it a twist in the end. So they did a pretty decent job with that. And I can say that's the best thing I say about the Thorn trilogy when it comes to Halloween. That's the best thing I could say about it. But then comes this movie where I know it wasn't rushed. They had a good amount of time to film it, produce it, write it, everything, and then get it out in theaters in time for this coming Halloween season. But this movie feels like they had just thrown it together, got some of the amazing actors and producers and all back for it. Like even Nick Castle. Nick Castle was one of the original stunt people to play Myers in the original. So Nick Castle does return, you know, for his role as the Shape, as they call him. Or, you know, everybody calls him Michael Myers, you know, but in the original film, even though he had a name, but he was just referred to as the Shape, you know, because he's a man, but he's wearing this mask, this pale white mask, where you don't know anything about it. It's just a guy wearing a mask and he's just going around killing people. That's what made it so mysterious. They called him the Shape. Some people didn't know what the hell his name was, but they just referred to him as the Shape. So this film opens up kind of steadily, and then it goes into the credit sequence. I'll get to that in a little bit. Then it goes to, present day, not Halloween, but it takes place within a 2-day period, where you see a little bit more of these reporters. Now, you see the reporters, of course, in the trailer. You're definitely going to see them. And you already know their fate in the trailer, because in the trailer, they're killed off. Because they're only seen at one point. Then you meet Laurie again. You see Laurie. She's going through, she was suffering from, PTS. Yeah, post-traumatic stress. So she's suffering from that after 40 fucking years. Wasn't she suffering from that in H2O? Like, she was taking medication in H2O, and she was always, seeing Michael in her dreams. She was seeing him in mirrors and shit like that. She was like, I know he's coming for me. I gotta be ready. He's coming for me. Da da da. Well, it's like she was terrified in H2O. This one, she's fucking ready. She there is no sister timeline within this one. She's fucking ready. For whatever reason, she's ready. She knows that any day now, Michael's gonna break out, and he's gonna come finish the job that he tried to accomplish in 1978. So she spends all this time prepping her and her family, by building a fucking basement in her house that's like a goddamn fort, collecting all these guns, learning to fire weapons, learning to fight. She was doing a whole lot of stuff. She was just waiting 40 years. She was waiting like Michael was waiting in the fucking hospital, waiting to get out, waiting to bust out, waiting for Halloween night. Then, of course, there is no Dr. Sam Loomis, because they did state in the movie that, spoiler, Loomis died years ago. And Michael Myers was left under the care of another doctor who was a protege, not a protege, but he was under Dr. Loomis. It was a different doctor. He's been treating Michael since Loomis's death. So, I guess I can go ahead and get into spoilers, because it's kind of hard to describe this movie without doing spoilers right away. So, okay. Movie takes place 40 years after the 1978 Haddonfield murders, where he murdered, they say in the movie he murdered like 5 people. Let me do a body count here. Okay, 1978. All right, he murdered one guy off screen to take the suit. He took the suit from. That was one. Let's see, who else did he murder throughout his spree? He ended up killing a dog. Well, I'll count. I may count that as one. Hold on. He killed a dog. He killed Annie. He killed Linda. He killed Bob. God damn! He killed fucking Bob. He killed Bob. He killed Linda's boyfriend, Bob. How do you kill Bob? How do you kill anybody named Bob? What happened to Bob? Well, he died. So, he killed all of them. So, I guess you could say the dog did count as 5. Because all in all, there was 4 murders. There was 4 murders. And they were all human murders. And then there was one animal murder. He killed a dog. So, that makes 5. So, my first thing right there was, that was a continuity error. It's like, he killed 4 people. He basically killed 4 people that night. I mean, I'm trying to track back in my memory of what all happened. Because he killed Annie, he killed Linda, he killed Bob, he killed a dog, he killed some guy driving a truck, stole his suit, that was that. And that's all I remember. That's all you really remember. He tried to kill Laurie, failed at that, and that was it. So he killed 4 people. And the continuity error with this one is Laurie said he killed 5 people in 1978. Now, he only killed 4. So anyway, these 2 podcasters, they're true crime podcasters. Aaron Corey and Dana Haynes, they travel to Smith Grove Cemetery where they want to interview Michael Myers. You do see that in the trailer, so these guys, they're there to do some kind of research or whatever on him. And the new doctor might want to count his sister when he was a kid. Well, here's the thing. Even though his sister would make 5, and I was thinking that too, his sister would make 5, but the continuity is they said he killed 5 people in 1978. He killed his sister in 1963. So yeah, there was 5 people who died in the movie, to be technical, yes. But in this movie, they say he killed 5 people in 1978. But in 1978, he only killed 4 people. Now, if you want to add more to the body count, they could have included Halloween 2, and they could have left the whole storyline of Laurie being a sister, but that's not what they were aiming for. They were aiming for this to be directly taking place after the events of the original Halloween. So, 1978, he killed 4 people. They're saying he killed 5. Yes, he killed 5 people in the movie, which is, the body count for that movie, which was 5. But this movie had a continuity error. And they say, they killed 5 people. No, he killed 4 people in 1978. Now, if you want to say he killed 5, okay, include the dog. Nobody knew he killed. Well, they probably found out about the dog later on after that, but I'm thinking realistic. I'm thinking realistic in this universe. I'm like, okay, if you want to get real technical and realistic, I'm like, okay, let's include the dog, basically. So these 2 reporters, they go to Smith Grove. Well, you would think it's called Sanitarium, but they actually renamed it as the Smith Groves Hospital. And they meet with the doctor who took over after Loomis. Loomis passed away. Dr. Ranbir Sartain, whatever the fuck his name is. He was a weird looking motherfucker in the movie. I had suspicions of that son of a bitch. God damn. So he takes him out into this big courtyard. Of course, that's seen in the trailer also. And he tells him, okay, Myers is standing over there. There's a yellow line. Don't cross the yellow line. So it's like it's a 9 square. So it's like 3 by 3 big old square. Myers is standing in the middle of it. He's chained to this block. And you can't step over the line into his block. So the one reporter is trying to get him to speak. The doctor tells him he could speak, but he chooses not to. So the doctor has spent so many years trying to get through to him, just like Loomis has. Trying to get him to say something, just trying to understand a little bit more behind Michael's madness. That's basically what Sam Loomis was doing in the first movie. So there are some copy and paste references from the first movie into this one. The doctor's trying to figure out why Michael does what he does. The only way to do it is to talk to him and hoping that he would talk back, but he will not talk back. So the reporter walks over, pulls out the mask, and he tries to get him to speak. They even mention Laurie Strode. All the other nutbags surrounding Michael, just standing there laughing and clapping and shit like that, while Myers is just standing there in place. He doesn't budge or anything. Now, there are some camera angles of Myers where you could see he has a slight scar by his left eye where Laurie jabbed a coat hanger into his eye in the first one. Then you see a scar on his neck, from the first movie where she stabbed him in the neck with a big old fucking sewing needle. So those are there. That's some good continuity right there. You do see some battle scars, some battle wounds on Myers from Laurie. So he's got those hoes scarred up right there. But other than that, no matter how much he yells at Michael to say something, he doesn't. And then, of course, the credits roll in. Now the credits they kept to the traditional Halloween credits, you know, where they're rolling the credits in the same text and font format as the original film. So they kept the nostalgia of that, and then they had the pumpkin there. Now what's unique about the pumpkin in the rolling credits is it's a deteriorated, flattened out pumpkin, but as the credits are rolling, the pumpkin is being reinflated or blowing back up, as is to say, okay, evil has been dead and buried, but now evil is rising, so the pumpkin is rising. It's the same, almost the same exact pumpkin as the intro credits from 1978 version. So that was some good nostalgia right there. So the movie waits about 5 minutes before rolling the credits, and then of course it rolls to, you know, Halloween 30th, you know, where they end up going to interview Laurie, try to get her backstory to everything that happened in 1978, you know, and of course, you know, I guess the one line from the trailer, you know, she does say it when she's being interviewed, and, you know, she was like, you don't believe in a boogeyman? Well, you should, because she believes heavily in the boogeyman. But the interview doesn't go as well. She kicks him off the property. But you see a little bit of her with what she's going through present day. You know, she's suffering from PTS, and she's been readying herself for so many years, 40 years. You know, she's collected so many guns. She's learned to shoot. She's fortified her house. Her house is like in the middle of nowhere. She's got all these fucking spotlights set up. She's got traps inside of her house. Like, literally, toward the end of the film, you know, like, she's checking a bunch of rooms, looking for him in the house. And when one room is clear, she hits a fucking button, and the goddamn wall comes down in the fucking door. That way, you know, she's trapping him outside in, like, an open area, you know, that, you know, if he's inside the room, she ain't gonna trap him in there. She wants to kill him. So she's fortified her fucking house as a fucking booby trap, you know. She's trapping him inside there. She wants to kill this the fucking boogeyman. So, let's see, what else was there? Yeah, they disclosed to Laurie their interest in finding out why Michael committed the murders. They actually asked her to meet with him in a final attempt to get him to speak before he was being transferred to a maximum security prison. So the whole thing was, you know, they've been studying him for so long, and God, coincidentally, 40 years, you know, on the 40th anniversary, they're like, oh, we want him to speak. We want to speak with him. We want to know what made him commit these murders. You know, the doctor can't get him to talk. These reporters can't get him to talk. He ain't going to talk. If they read if I could sit here and say for a minute, realistically speaking, if they go by the notes of Loomis could never get through to him. So it was a fucking loss. You know, you might as well just go ahead and transfer him to the prison. You're not going to get any words out of him. Well, anyway, of course, you know, they're on the bus. He's on the bus with a bunch of other prisoners and stuff like that. Well, I wouldn't say prisoners, but that's where they're on their way to. The bus ended up crashing, of course. Bus crashed. They all escaped. And it's like, who crashed the bus? How did the bus crash? And of course, the doctor taking care of Michael now, he was on the bus too. But he actually gets he gets wounded at one point by a couple that are just driving by and see the bus crash. Now, mind you, this scene also is in the trailer, so you know some shit's going down. Now, let me tell you, spoiler alert, in this scene, this is like the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie, of course he kills a kid. The kid's like, I don't know, 12, 13 years old, something like that. He ends up snapping the boy's neck. But the boy, you know, right before that happens, he ends up taking a gun to the bus while his dad disappears. His dad ends up getting killed off screen. So he walks over to the bus and accidentally shoots the doctor. The doctor survives, of course. Runs back to the truck. He tries to start the truck up. Michael Myers is sitting in the back seat. He reaches over, grabs the kid, strangles him, snaps his neck. You never really see him kill a kid in a fucking. Well, of course he tried to kill his niece Lori, Jamie, in 4 and 5, but he never did succeed. But you never see him kill a kid in a Halloween movie. This one is like, holy shit! Now they up the ante. So of course Michael, he escapes. Next day, where does he go? Goes to a gas station, kills a mechanic, gets his jumpsuit, kills the reporters. Because he's following the reporters all around. How he caught up to reporters, I don't fucking know. How he knew what they looked like, I don't know. Because he didn't even fucking look at them at the beginning of the movie. So, don't know. You know, there's some continuity error right there, you know. It's like, how does he know who the fuck he's following and who he's looking for? So, I don't know. But he does know that they have his mask. So, he follows them to the gas station. He kills a mechanic off screen, takes the jumpsuit, walks into the bathroom, starts to harass the girl in the stall, chasing her around there. Then the guy comes in, you know, the guy reporter walks in, slams his face against the wall, uses his body and his head to, you know, basically bust open the fucking stall door, and then ends up strangling her too. So he does kill the reporter, so it is foreshadowed in the trailer. Mind you, a lot of this stuff I'm saying is already foreshadowed in the trailer. So a lot of the good scenes are in the trailer. When you watch the trailer, a lot of the good parts are in the trailer. So he ends up killing them. And then, of course, looking on Wikipedia here, you know, it's like, okay, after he kills them, he goes and ransacks their vehicle and finds his mask. I got one thing to say about that. He does not ransack the vehicle. He doesn't ransack it. He carefully opens the trunk door, sees his mask sitting right there in plain sight, pulls the mask out, puts it on, closes the trunk door, and then it pans to, you know, Halloween, where you see Laurie Strode's granddaughter walking down the street with some friends of hers. You know, they're planning to have a Halloween party and stuff like that. But my thing is, for Wikipedia to get that wrong, it's like, oh, he ransacked her vehicle. He didn't ransack shit. He opened the trunk, pulled his mask out, closed the trunk. That was it. And it all happens within a matter of 5 minutes for that scene alone. Yeah, it was tense. For some, terrifying, but it was expected. Because like I said, if you watched the trailer for the movie, it was foreshadowed. So anyway, you know, he wanders around Haddonfield, Halloween night, of course, and he murders several people. This is where the movie kind of fell flat for me right here. When he got to Haddonfield, it's Halloween night, okay. Now, there is a lot of Easter eggs taken from pretty much every single Halloween movie, except for the Rob Zombie ones. A lot of Easter eggs. Even one shot that is taken, like one of the first murders that he commits on Halloween night. And the camera work done on this part is spectacular, you know. Just the camera following him, one continuous shot. And the first person he kills is basically a Easter egg. It's homage to Halloween 2. If you ever seen Halloween 2, at the beginning where Michael's wandering around through the backyards, he's been shot already, he's wounded. So he wanders into this house where the woman's making a sandwich for her and her husband. You know, she's wearing the pink night robe, you know, the robe, the bathrobe. And she hears about the murders on TV. Well, you don't have the TV, you don't have the husband. You know, he walks around the backyard, grabs a hammer, walks into the house, and then, of course, off camera, you know, he kills her with the hammer and then steals the butcher knife. So there is a lot of different homage Easter eggs in this movie that pays tribute to just about every movie in the franchise. So you definitely will see that. But just this one part alone, like while Laurie is out driving around, looking for the police, you know, looking for the sheriff, who's played by, I believe, what was his name? Bill Patton. Yeah, Will Patton plays Sheriff Hawkins. I'll get to that in a little bit. So they're going out, you know, they know Michael's in town, you know, continuing his slaughter spree, and Yeah, so they're out there driving around looking for him. Meanwhile, he's in Haddonfield murdering people house by house by house. You know, he's just murdering random fucking people. I mean, he's even murdering a couple teenagers, of course. Now, this whole sequence right here, while all this is going on, the kills, they come just as quick as they go. They come just as quick as go. So it's almost like, did he just return to Haddonfield just to fucking kill everybody? I mean, it's like, you gotta have a particular reason to want to kill someone. Like, Halloween 1, his main focus was 3 young teenagers that he had an eye on earlier in the film. You know, that was his main focus. And then, of course, the other films, you know, he's working his way to getting to his family members, his sister, his niece, whatever, and killing anybody in their way, you know. If you're in his way, he gonna kill you just to get to what he needs. But with this, he just starts randomly killing. First, he kills an old lady in her kitchen. Then he goes next door, looks in the front window, and then he sneaks around back. And then, of course, while the camera's sitting there, you see the woman coming into the living room, closes the blinds, and right behind her, there he is, stabs her right through the neck. And then, of course, another death, or the next death. You see it in the trailer, once again, in the trailer. You know this girl's gonna fucking die. You know, you got the little black kid who's in bed. He's like, can you close my closet door for me? Now, mind you, this black kid, he's kind of like a comic relief in a way, so he does say some hilarious shit, so that lightens the mood a little bit right there. You got that little comic relief from this little black kid who's being babysat. And, of course, the babysitter, she's friends with Laurie's granddaughter, but you don't hear too much from her after the fact. You know, she hears him screaming upstairs after she has the boyfriend come in and all. And he's like, oh, there's somebody standing in my doorway. Somebody's standing in my doorway. Spoiler, okay? So she goes upstairs to check the room. She tries to scare him a little bit, but it didn't work. So he hops into bed and he's like, can you close the closet door for me? So, of course, she walks over, closes the closet door, opens it up. There he is. He does stab her. Okay, so it is known. If you watch in the trailer, she does get stabbed by him, but she tries to run away. And after seeing him, the little black boy is like, oh, fuck this shit, I'm going. I mean, this kid, he didn't fucking hesitate at all. He's like, fuck this, I'm gone. She's trying to run out of the room. She ends up slipping, falling, and she grabs a hold of the fucking rails as he's trying to drag her back into the goddamn room to stab her. So the little boy's like, he's going downstairs. He's like, I'm going up the road. I'm going to get help. So he runs out the door, and the boyfriend's downstairs. You know, he grabs a fucking knife. He's like, fuck this. So the boyfriends are getting killed off screen. You know, you don't see how he gets killed. The girl does get killed, though. And, of course, that's the house where, you know, Sheriff Hawkins, or whatever the fuck his name is. Was it Hawkins? Yeah, Hawkins. He investigates. He hears about the murder. You know, he goes, he checks it out. He walks in the room. You know, he sees something sitting under the sheet, you know, on the far wall. Of course, that's in the trailer as well. And, of course, he pulls the sheet off, and it's her. And at the same time, Laurie pulls up outside the house because she's listening to everything on a police scanner, so she knows exactly where to go. She's standing outside. She's yelling for the kids, get home, get home. You know, of course, you see that in the trailer, along with the shot where she looks over up in the window and she sees him standing there, and she goes to shoot, but she shoots the mirror. That's in the trailer too. So Myers, he comes walking out, walks downstairs, being chased by the sheriff, but sheriff can't catch up with him. He runs outside. Laurie shoots him once, and then he just disappears. So I had a little bit of problem with that right there, too. Hey, welcome back, Wolf. You missed some stuff. So, yeah, this whole scene, which took place, which I want to say was about a 15, 20-minute shot, you know. Michael's he's already a killing spree. He's already killed, like, 4 or 5 people within a 15-minute period. And it all went just as quick as it came. Oh, you're avoiding I'm actually doing a lot of spoilers right now, man. So you probably want to come back later on, because I'm still in the middle of spoilers too. I'm actually just about. I'm just like halfway through the movie with spoilers. So yeah. So yeah, you figure like with 15 minutes right there. Now I'm going back into spoilers. So I'll give you a heads up. I'm going back into spoilers. So yeah, Laurie, she meets with Hawkins, and of course it is said that Sheriff Hawkins was there in 1978 when all this shit went down. Now, if you want to talk about continuity, okay, the sheriff in the first movie is Sheriff Brackett, I think it was. Yeah, Sheriff Brackett. At least I think that's what it was. God, now I gotta go back. I mean, even though I just seen the goddamn film, not too long. I've seen it so many fucking times. Let me see. Yeah, Sheriff Brackett. I'm sorry, Sheriff Brackett. He was played by Charles Cyphers. Okay, yeah, it was Sheriff Brackett. So Sheriff Brackett was in the first movie, and you got Sheriff Hawkins here. So it's like a little continuity error right there. If you want to say that he was there, in 1978 when all this happened, I'm like, maybe he was an off-screen deputy. Maybe he was a deputy who caught Myers, after he ran away in the first one. Because apparently what happened after the first one, and they talk about it in this one, apparently they caught up with him, and they arrested him, and they took him back to Smith's Grove. I'm trying to get that out there. So apparently they locked him up, and that's where he's been the whole time. 40 years he's been locked up there, aging to the day he died. Now, before I continue on with spoilers, okay, it's been 40 years since he murdered these people. Now, when he escaped from Smith's Grove, he had just turned 18, and Loomis was coming to pick him up and take him to court so they can, sentence him. Because he was old enough to be sentenced and charged as an adult. So, here it is, 40 years later, after that date. If they caught up with him and arrested him, why didn't they just take him to the fucking prison? Why do you gotta take him back to a sanitarium? A sanitarium's not really a prison. You're looked after by doctors. At least with the prison, you're fucking locked down. You know how to deal with this monster. So how come when you caught him in 1978, why didn't you take him to a prison? Why didn't you just take him to a maximum security prison? Instead, no, you take him right back to the fucking nut house. That made absolutely no sense, especially since the guy can't fucking talk. Or, of course, he can talk, but he just refuses to talk. So you're gonna take the motherfucker back to the nut house. And, oh my god. So, there's so many errors with the storyline right now. Oh my god. So, yeah, okay, maybe Hawkins is the one who caught him, arrested him under Brackett's orders back then. So, I'm gonna get past that. So, they continue the manhunt for him. He's still going around killing fucking people. He kills another teenager, and then, the granddaughter. She sees him, she runs to a nearby house and all, for help and shit. Laurie's daughter, of course, because you got three women in this movie. You got Laurie Strode, you got her daughter, and then you got her granddaughter. Let's see. I was actually looking in the right place, and I just clicked out of it. Goddamn, okay. So you got her daughter, played by Judy Greer, Karen, and then you got her granddaughter, played by Andi Matichak, I don't know. She was born in 95. She's like, what was this? 20, maybe 23 years old, yeah. And of course, she don't have too many acting careers under her belt. But Judy Greer, she played Laurie Strode's daughter. So you got these three women, so throughout the whole movie, Laurie's coping with the whole thing, and the daughter's like, Mom, you just gotta drop it, da-da-da. That's why you're not allowed in my house, da-da-da, all this shit, It's like, you get just a little bit of backstory as to what happened, with her as a child. Like, Laurie had her help, had her help her fortify her home, build a basement, but she never knew why. She only said, Mom, you've been scared of the boogeyman for so many years, you gotta drop it, da-da-da. And And she said, he's coming and I'm waiting for him. So the daughter was smart enough. She grew up, she had, her granddaughter, all this and that, technical issues, stuff like that. So Laurie's spending the film not only trying to get back together with her daughter and granddaughter in this serious matter and protect them and all, but you see her hunting them down. It's like Captain Ahab hunting his whale. The whale that took his leg, so she's hunting him down. So it ends up being a cat and mouse game in the movie. And then, of course, you learn a little bit more backstory to this crazy doctor, Dr. Sartain. He's trying to learn the root of Michael's madness, and at one point he ends up killing somebody. And it's kind of a weird twist with that. I mean, I would go into it, but it's hard getting into that part. But let's just say the doctor, he ends up killing somebody. And he's like, this is how it feels. This is how the evil feels. I can feel it. Da-da-da, But he ends up getting killed by Michael in the end anyway. He ends up getting killed by Michael in the end anyway. Just like in Halloween 6, where it was Dr. Wynn from Smith Grove who helped him escape and helped, and cursed him with the curse of thorn and all, if you watch Halloween 6. But then in the end, Michael ends up killing him anyway. So it's like, yeah, you create a monster, so fuck you. So anyway, skip it to the end. Michael makes his way to Laurie's house. He finds out where she lives, He goes there, kills a few police officers, kills her daughter's husband in the process. And then the climax at the end, the final act, the final 20 minutes. After the daughter and the granddaughter meet up with her in her house, Laurie spends a little bit of time, cat and mouse kind of game. Michael's trying to kill her, but she gets the upper advantage. It ends up as a cat and mouse game where, she's hunting him down now. It's like in the first one where he's hunting her down, he's chasing her. Now she's chasing him, he's hiding, and she's looking all over the house. She's trying to, she's going to shoot him. She eventually going to shoot him. So she spends all this time looking for him. At one point he thought he got the upper advantage, threw her out a window and on the ground. And of course, it was a little bit of homage to the first movie where he looks down and she's laying on the ground. Then he looks away and he looks back down and she's gone. So, he continues looking throughout the house for her, the daughter, and the granddaughter. And in the end, he finds them. They get the upper hand, shoot him down in the cellar. Turns out she was building a trap for him. And then, of course, what better way to try to kill him off? Set him on fire. Set him on fire. She lights the gas in the basement, throws a fucking flare down in there, lights the fire, and they leave. They flag somebody down driving by, and they take off as the whole house is burning. Now, of course, he stood there and took it, but when the camera pans back down to the basement as it's on fire, you see his body's gone. So apparently he's still alive somewhere. And then, of course, the ending, like the very end, like they're driving away, like, okay, we survived the night. What's going to happen next? And you pan to the granddaughter holding the butcher knife in her hand, and then freeze frame. So it's like, okay, what is she going to be, a killer now? Is she going to follow in the tracks of her mother, or her, the serial killer that's been chasing them down? So, other than that, like, I mean, I know I didn't get into every single spoiler in the movie. I got into a lot of it, but this movie, like, for me, the best parts of the movie is Jamie Lee Curtis. She stole the show. Where she's in this game of cat and mouse with Michael throughout the house. It's very suspenseful. You're rooting for her. You're like, oh, he could be around this corner. He could be in this room. It could be here. Whatever. It was very suspenseful, but she does a pretty amazing job with this movie with her acting. And yes, she does say Happy Halloween, Michael, but it's not at the part where you think she says it. It's like, it's subtle, But it's like right when she's, really ready to fucking bury his ass in the basement. So, going through all that, talking about every scene from the original and every scene from this one. Like I said, there's a lot of Easter eggs in this film, and they are very noticeable. Even if you go back and miss them, like I've missed a couple, but you could definitely tell if you really pay attention. You could see a lot of Easter eggs, that they taken from or they pay homage to just about every other Halloween movie that's out there. And this movie, I would say, well, a lot of people are saying it holds up as a true sequel to the original. It holds up as a true sequel. For me, it has a lot of plot holes for a lot of characters. Like I said before, there's a lot of throwaway characters in the movie. And you don't know some backstory to them. There's like even one character that you see earlier on in the film, and it's like he's not even killed off. You see him at one point, and then you don't see him anymore. So I was like, okay, well, what happened to this guy? I mean, didn't he chase after so-and-so? Did he do this? Did he do that? Nobody fucking knows. Nobody cares. Throwaway characters, they're put in there, and they're never seen again, after a certain point. So there's quite a bit of, plot holing going on in this film. When it gets to about halfway through, I'm going to say about about 45 minutes. This movie's a little bit over an hour and a half, around an hour and a half. So about the 45-minute mark, that's when it actually starts picking up with the murders. And he don't even kill a whole lot of people. I mean, it's like he's killing, but it's just like it goes just as quick as it came. So that whole sequence right there, it was kind of unnerving for me. Like, okay, I get to see him kill, but it's not dragged out through the film like I would have liked it to. At least with the other films, they dragged it out, and it was done at certain proper times. This one is just like they just threw it in there halfway through the film. Okay, they're throwing these kills in there. Okay, kill him, kill her, and then get shot by her, run off, and then finish off later on. No, it's like it's not properly paced. If you catch my drift, the kills in the movie, they're not properly paced with each other. They're just thrown in there, and then it's cut off, and then they're thrown in there again, and then the movie's closed off with the climax. Of course, like I said, Jamie Lee steals the show. The ending, some people thought the ending was a little bit too strong for them. Like, they just went into it with, like, guns blazing, pretty much. So, the ending did leave a sour taste in my mouth, basically. A sour aftertaste. I wanted to love this movie. I really did. I had high expectations for it, hearing really good things about this movie. It's still a good movie to watch. Don't get me wrong. It's still a good. It's nowhere near being a terrible Halloween entry. I mean, they did say this is the best sequel out of all of them. The best sequel to get that much recognition. But let's put it this way. I would probably choose H2O over this one. But I would choose this one over Resurrection. Because H2O was a decent entry, but it had its moments, it had its flaws. It didn't really feel too much like a Halloween film. And the continuity errors with that movie, it was way off for its time. It was just way off. Whereas with this one, the only continuity that you're picking up from it is right after the first film. So, there are some plot holes to be filled, and nobody can really explain them. And now they're talking about doing another sequel. And they said if this movie does real well, we'll think about doing it. This movie was made on a $10 to $15 million budget, and so far the box office it made $91.8 million. I expect that number to grow just a little bit, but I don't expect it to grow that much more. So if you base it off what the critics had said about the movie, they said it's like a 90-something on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, on a review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rate of 79% based off of 227 reviews, with an average rating of 6.8 out of 10. Halloween largely wipes the slate clean after decades of disappointing sequels, ignoring increasingly elaborate mythology in favor of basic yet still effective ingredients. So yeah, like in a mixed review, okay, Eric Kahn of IndieWire criticized the film's dialogue and staging, but said Carpenter's own Halloween was itself a bumpy ride. Made on the cheap, but carried along by the director's film grasp on his potent themes. Now, the original Halloween was a superb classic. Hands down, superb slasher. It put slasher films on the market. I mean, the slasher films have been done before that. You had Psycho, Black Christmas, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But Halloween brought the slasher genre into the mainstream, made it more popular, and opened the door for other great slasher films, like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, and even more Texas Chainsaw movies. So, even though the slasher film slate was already laid out, Halloween kickstarted it. And people are saying, yeah, maybe this one will continue that trend. It's bringing back the whole slasher genre feel. And I will say, with this movie, it's fresh, it's new, it wiped the slate clean. Yes, it's a continuation from the first Halloween film. It's got some new suspense. It's got some new comedic value to it. It's going to make you chuckle a couple times in there. But I feel like the story itself, with certain characters, the story feels incomplete. Too many plot holes. Like I said, the kills, that kind of stuff, it's thrown right in there. It's not paced out properly. It's just thrown right in there. But other than that, it's still a pretty entertaining film. I'd say I will go back and watch it a second time to actually really get a feel for it, to see how I actually feel a second time. Will I actually love the movie this time, or will I have the same appeal to it? So, I would give it a rating of about 7 out of 10. Halloween 2018, well, first of all, they should have given it a subtitle or something. They should have given it another name. Halloween. I mean, how many Halloween movies do we have with that title? Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 3. Halloween 78. Halloween 07. Halloween 18, So the next time somebody asks you, hey, have you seen Halloween? Just look at them and say, okay, which one? There's 3 Halloweens out there now. There's 3 of them. So you gotta really depict, which one you've seen. It's like, was it the Halloween 78? Was it Rob Zombie's Halloween? Was it Halloween 18? There's 3 of them. That's why the title of the show is Halloween 78 versus Halloween 18. So I would say, if you're into that kind of stuff, if you're into the horror genre, if you're into Halloween, if it's one of your favorite horror franchises, it is mine. I love the whole Halloween franchise. I've seen all the movies. I do say, 5, 6, and Resurrection were pretty bad. Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 was garbage. I still watch them. They still have that entertainment value for me. They're still movies. I still enjoy watching them, even though they are that bad. With this one, I would put it up to par with Halloween 4, at least. It's not up there with the original Halloween. Halloween is still crowned king of the whole franchise. I wouldn't put it at number 2. I mean, not only is because it's a sequel, but ranking it, I would say Halloween 18 is up to par with Halloween 4. Halloween 4 started fresh. It was new. kind of fell flat a little bit, but still a pretty entertaining film. Still had its moments when it comes to the suspense, when it came to the horror, everything else. This movie, even though it felt very incomplete to me, I still enjoy sitting down watching it. I still enjoyed sitting there, hearing a little bit more about, these characters, the backstory, learning new things, and of course seeing Jamie Lee kicking Michael's ass once again, like she did 20 years ago with H2O. So, do I recommend seeing this movie? Absolutely. I mean, of course, you want to wait, for it to come out on digital, Blu-ray, whatever, and that's fine too. But I don't want you to give up your hopes. I don't want you to go into this movie with high expectations, because I didn't go into this movie with high expectations. I already heard from like 3 or 4 other people said that they didn't like this entry, so I took that with a grain of salt, and I went into it, and I watched it for my own, and I was just like, I don't know. It's like meh or eh, but all in all, this movie, it's not a mess. It's not a convoluted mess. It's just it's incomplete. John Carpenter, he executive produced it, so it could have came out worse. It could have been worse. I'm pretty sure if John Carpenter didn't have any say in the movie at all, it probably could have went worse. Especially when you got a director and a writer who's worked on nothing but comedy movies, and I guess this is their first horror movie. So when you got that going for them, yeah, it could have been a mess. It could have been a lot worse than what it was. Having John Carpenter on hand right there, and he wanted to do it. And of course, John Carpenter did the score for the movie, so that's a plus also. So having John Carpenter handy, I guess that did the movie justice, to a degree where it's actually watchable, it's enjoyable, and I definitely recommend seeing it. And so that pretty much is the end of it right there, guys. Like, comparing it to 1978 Halloween, of course, 78 still reigns supreme. It's still a really good movie. If you haven't seen Halloween 78 yet, get to watching it. It's still a really good movie. It's one of my favorites. It's definitely a must-watch every Halloween season. And then this one, if you want to go see it in theaters this week, go ahead and check it out. It's still a good movie, but like I said, don't go into it with high expectations. Going into it, like, okay, I heard about it. Let me see this for myself. Let me see how good it is. Let me see how bad it is. I'll judge it myself. Everybody's got their own opinions on the movie. That's fine. Everybody's got their own opinions. If you hate it, that's fine. I mean, I liked it. That's my opinion. I'm not expecting you guys to like it. I'm not pushing you onto it. If you want to check it out for yourselves, I definitely recommend it. So that is pretty much it for today, guys. I want to thank Wolfang. I want to thank Cypher Xavier for coming on in here and checking out the show today. Got to talk about the whole Halloween franchise in a nutshell. Compare the new movie. Like I said, new movie's pretty good. It's not great, but it's not bad. So it's halfway in there. So it's definitely a decent film. Other than that, guys, if you are just now joining in, or if you're just now watching this, especially on YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you are watching this on YouTube, Arrow Entertainment. And if you've yet to do so, be sure to follow us on twitch.tv/Arrow with a name. Also, for the next streams, if you want updates on when we're going to be streaming and what we're going to be streaming next, be sure to follow us on Twitter at ArrowOfficial17. If you are not on Twitter, however, you can follow us on Facebook.com/Arrow with a name. You will definitely get updates on there as well. I will also be doing a stream later on today, depending on how late it is. I'm going to get a Resident Evil stream in. More likely, I will do it over on Facebook, so you will see it re-uploaded to our YouTube channel. Hopefully, be able to re-upload it to Twitch as well. So if you see it pop up on Twitch tonight and it's going live, it's going to be a pre-recorded show, so don't expect me to be in the chat at all. Just hang out there and have some fun. Guys, it was fun doing the show. I'm going to try to do another episode like this later on this week, maybe next week. Also, this coming Wednesday night, we postponed it, and we're going to do it. So if you missed out on Halloween at all, if you've never seen it, you can actually have a chance to watch it this coming Wednesday night. We will give you a set time on our Twitter on when we go live streaming Halloween 78 on here in the style of Mystery Science Theater. Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's going to be fun. So be sure to join my co-host Shadow and I, and hopefully another person will kick in and we can have some fun commentating over this movie. And we hope to see you guys then. Closing out, guys, y'all have a great day. Hopefully I will see you on here later on while I'm on Facebook streaming Resident Evil. Catch you guys later.